Hey, what's up? I've got the fossils in my lap, and I've also got this wonderful deck. All of you is magic. There's been a lot shifting energetically in the last month, especially, and I know it's been very hard on a lot of people, and especially as we're coming up upon this full moon in Pisces, blood moon, lunar eclipse, blah, everything is just coming up. One thing that I know that I've been dealing with, that some of my other colleagues have been dealing with, and we've been talking about, is just it feels like things are coming up that we thought we were done with. That we thought we had that we'd done healed and left behind or whatever. And the truth is, if it's coming up, it's time to look at it again. And another reader that I follow elsewhere said something about being grateful for the ability to review and release whatever else needs to be released. And when it comes to healing, it's never as simple as the surface layer, is it? No, it sure isn't, because there's always layers of stuff underneath. And I'll tell you, right, for me, a lot of the stuff that's been very hard is the old stuff from childhood, and that can be really hard to heal because we tend to take an adult perspective on it and try to look at it and work with it that way, when we need to be looking at it from the perspective of that child that we were, and to really understand what it was that we needed, and what it is that we need to heal that. So I'm going to see if there's a message here that we can build up on that. But keep going with it. Don't try to resist what is coming up right now, because it isn't always very comfortable at all. Believe me, I know. But what I have noticed is that the more I lean into just simply allowing it to be what it is, not resisting it, not saying, I don't want to feel this way, something's wrong. And that's the big thing. When you feel uncomfortable, when you feel that discomfort, when you feel something coming up, and saying, okay, something's wrong. What's wrong? What's going on? Especially if you're an intuitive. That's not always, sometimes, sure, it may mean something is wrong, but when we kind of fall into that place of, this isn't right, we should feel at peace, blah, 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 sometimes things come up for healing, and we have to look at them, and we do need to sit in that discomfort. The less that we try to push that away, the less that we try to resist feeling whatever it is, even if you end up crying and screaming. I'm the one known for driving around in my car and screaming at the top of my lungs, in other words, yelling at clouds, which actually really helps a lot, and then it doesn't come out at other people. So let yourself feel it. Let yourself feel whatever is coming up, and treat that with kindness and gentleness and compassion and respect. Don't beat yourself up for daring to have feelings and struggles that come up. That's just kind of part of what we're doing here in these meat sacks on this planet, is having to deal with that stuff. We learn and we grow through that. So when those things come up, send them love. Send yourself love. Don't send yourself frustration for having to deal with something difficult. Relax and allow that to come up. Pretend it's a friend who needs support. That's something that works for me a lot. Anyway, change is a regular visitor that can leave you physically and emotionally drained. Whenever it comes around, slow down and go easy on yourself. Trust yourself to catch yourself. Understanding your needs and acknowledging your inner child allows you to start building this trust. Understanding what nourishes you will allow you to fill your orbit with uplifting and supportive energy. Okay, so what I'm hearing, what was I saying about our inner child, or our child self? We want to, as adults, deal with things in, it's such a brutal way that we've been taught to deal with our emotions, to deal with the stuff that comes up, to deal with things that feel uncomfortable. We're not supposed to feel uncomfortable. Things are supposed to feel great all the time, and if we feel uncomfortable, then something's wrong. And especially for me, like, instead of just allowing things to come up and move through me and give them the love and support that they need, it makes me doubt myself. I've struggled with that a lot. I'm a lot better at it now. And it's worse when things are in flux in our lives because change is already uncomfortable. And so when things are changing and shifting and we don't feel comfortable and then something else happens, man, it sets off a whole bunch of stuff. It can set up a whole bunch of stuff inside of us. So when it comes to the present moment, what is it that we need to know about going through change? It's my email confirmation about going through change, about allowing things to happen and leaning into trusting ourselves, because as a collective, I'm part of this collective, we're smaller, whatever, we need to give ourselves more credit. We're the collective that was like, 2 years later, oh yeah, I knew that all along. Trust yourself. The more you lean into trusting yourself, and that can be hard, especially when you haven't had that external validation or you're not getting that validation. But you can also work with your guides. You can work with, your ancestors and stuff to help bring that validation to you if you need it to work on that. This is the oof. Okay, I got rocks in the hand. We got 3 sacred geometric figures here. We've got the dodecahedron, the sphere is in there, the cube is there. We've got a need for softness. Oh, so we have a few things going on here. What are you and what is this about? This is a lot of core belief stuff, and we're shedding a lot of these old toxic core beliefs and toxic ideas of what the world is and how we're supposed to function in it. And a lot of that is coming to a head right now. We have stuck to this unhealthy program that society wants us to stick to. And a lot of us are kind of butting up against that program because it's no longer working for us, but we're in that place of transition where we haven't quite landed on doing things the way that works for us, trusting in doing things the way that works for us, even if it doesn't look like what other people think it should look like, or if other people disagree. We've got the scarab here, which definitely talks about rebirth and transformation. And it was a full stone at one point. I'm not sure exactly what happened to it, but it broke in half, and now I like it a lot. This was just a brachiopod fossil, but it really was about having our walls up, especially like around our heart, and those walls are dropping. And if they haven't, it's time to drop those walls. This is a chain coral fossil, and this one is kind of all messy. And so, this talks about our social connections and our communities and our familial connections, and they're not smooth and easy right now. Everything is kind of a mess, and it's all bunched up and pushing back and forth at each other. We are really overthinking this because we're struggling to find our way into this place of stability, which is this cube. It's the earth element of earth, and it's all those earth elements things. It's grounding, it's stability, it's foundation, and that's being shook up. We're trying to make something new. We're trying to make what we've got better, but things don't seem to be working. And for a lot of people in the collective, it seems that you're struggling to figure out why. And it's because of needing to let go of trying to do things in that old paradigm. In the old paradigm that isn't working in the way that society wants us to do because it's acceptable to the rest of society, but it's just not how we work. And so we're transitioning through that. Boy, and it's uncomfortable. It is uncomfortable. This is just chalcedony, white chalcedony, with a little yellow in there, agate, veins of gold and stuff. But I call this the dead sun. This is something that was probably bright and successful and shiny at one point, and it's now just kind of dull and lifeless. And what once fed us and let our gardens grow and let our flowers bloom is simply not giving in the same way. And that's because we are transitioning away from it. It worked for us in a prior time because of where we were in that prior time, and it is not working for us now because it's time to transition away from that. It's time to transform into something better. This is all about our highest and best here, and it is terrifying. Change is scary. Change is scary. What does this say? Change is a regular visitor that can leave you physically and emotionally drained. Whenever it comes around, slow down and go easy on yourself. Change will shake you up like freaking James Bond's drink. I mean, it will destabilize everything, and it also can bring about self-doubt. It can bring about issues with trusting yourself because your foundation isn't necessarily solid. And so there are times when, we're working on building a foundation, and then there's times when we really need to just let it flow. And we've got this rock here, which I know you can't exactly see much of the details, but the image that I'm seeing in the rock is a big waves, big, big, big waves. We've got big waves there. We've got this fish leaping out of the water over the waves. And then there's a bird flying above the waves, looking down on them. And so the idea is not to fight the waves, but to adapt and go with the flow in the manifestation right now. Even if we don't know exactly where things are going to end up. What I'm also seeing here with these guys is that, our hearts are opening, and that is sort of part of the shift of humanity right now. And our hearts got to open, because if they don't, then we're just going to get left behind. But of you, my collective, your hearts are opening. And that's what's causing a lot of this conflict here. And it's a lot of mental stuff with the community, with family, with your connections. People can feel you shifting and they don't like it. And so they feel like they're being left behind. They feel like you're moving on without them, a lot of other things. And it's very stressful. But each of us as an individual does need to follow our own path. I'm divorced, so I know very well that sometimes you can be with somebody for a long time, and there comes a time when you need to go your separate ways, and there's nothing inherently wrong with that. We grow apart from people all the time. And, in terms of my ex, I have reached a point of forgiveness with that, where I'm very grateful for what they brought into my life, and the things I learned, and the experiences that we had, and knowing that that connection was not meant to be forever. It was a temporary thing, just to shift, just to put me through this particular shift. Oh, I love these. I have a few of these, and I call them the world's softest rocks, because they are. They feel like velvet. And so see this guy who is leaning here against all of this, the dead sun, and the community that is. This is a stone it's an agate or a jasper, one of the two. But it's got all these little, it almost looks like star clusters, or it looks like the brain. It looks like neural pathways. And so it talks about being way too much in our head and overthinking these things, instead of allowing things to flow and transform. The softness is the dodecahedron, which is the hidden aspects of manifesting, right? The things that we are not quite sure about. There are things in our environment. There are, maybe new things, new people that have led to a shift. And this is why things are not staying on that past foundation. They're not, that foundation has fallen away. We have this new sphere of manifestation that's leading right to what I call the scarab here, which is about transformation and rebirth. And that is, don't drop the rocks, Megan. And that is all sort of flowing around this discontent and this conflict and this open heart that is really, really heavy with all this conflict. You don't need to hurt for other people. You don't need to manage other people's emotions or their feelings around your transformation. You just need to follow where your heart, where your intuition is telling you to lead. And this change is a regular visitor card. Slow down and go easy on yourself. I told a friend today, and I'll tell you all too, give yourself permission to lean into the things that do let you slow down. And if you need to, as much as you can, outright reject doing things that ramp you up, that cause your body to go into a higher state of arousal and tension, that either make you go fast or make you feel like you need to go fast. There's a lot of that. Hustle culture is so toxic and everywhere. There's a lot of that around confirmation. So it's up to us to say, you know what, I don't want to do that. I don't want to be in this place of go, 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 rush, 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 where I don't have a second to breathe. That's not doing anything but constantly distracting yourself from the present moment. What you're really being called to do right now is be in the midst of this transformation and change. The soft rock is about gentleness and softness and compassion for yourself, for the others who are, that you may be in conflict with, that things are breaking off, you're leaving this behind. Um, it's hard to hold compassion when people piss you off, but, sometimes all it takes is just saying, you know what, I can understand they want things their way, but I still have to go my way. And you can hold that little tiny mustard seed of compassion for them, even if that's all you can do, knowing how difficult change is and how hard it is to move through change, because you're doing it right now and it sure doesn't feel good. Is there anything else? I'll put these in my pocket and pull out some advice for us as far as moving through this in the best way possible for our highest and best. Here we go. Wow. Okay, so a few things here. And if you see this guy, I don't know if you've seen this guy. This is just a chunk of, it's got a lot of crinoid stuff in it. So it's a lot of false starts. Um, and we've got this little guy, the ear, little tiny ear. So it's about listening. And this is a stromatolite fossil, ancient bacterial colony, but it's got all of these little lines on it, and it's about worry. And so what this is saying to me is that there's a lot of false starts. And so what you're listening to is your worries about what is or isn't happening versus your intuition about what is happening. And the false starts here, there seems to be a little, there seems to be promise here. This is a nice little, it's just chalcedony quartz. It's a geode, essentially. There seems to be a little treasure, a little prosperity, a little foundational something coming up, but it's not really anything compared to the beautiful treasure that you probably cannot see because you're so wrapped up in this worry. When we get so wrapped up in worry and fear, and we're listening to our worries and our fears about how things will work out, things are going to how we're going to pay our bills, how we're going to make sure everything stays stable and stuff like that, we start listening to those worries, and then we start accepting things that aren't as good as they could be. We start settling, right? We start settling for stuff. And when we settle, then we're not happy. Then we're not happy at all. We've got the crossroads stone here, which is, fossilized crinoid stems here. And then we've got the turtle. I call this a turtle. It's a shell on one side. It's got some lace coral on the bottom, but it's lace coral down. So the shell is up, and we're ignoring this crossroads. We're ignoring the important decisions, and no doubt because they are making us uncomfortable. We've got a lot of false starts. We are digging into that worry and not really holding a full perspective on what could come in. We keep trying. It's like settling for lesser attempts too. So when we're stuck in this worry and we're desperate for things to be stable or for things to feel less uncomfortable, it's like we're, shooting BBs everywhere at everything and just hoping that we hit something. And that's not focused, it's not efficient, it's just, waiting for whatever comes in first. And that isn't bringing us to the depth of the treasure that we want. Oh man, I love this stone. This is an agatized, beautiful agatized brachiopod here in the middle, and it's white chalcedony, and it's got these golden threads through it too. And I should always put on my glasses. Hold on. Hanging out in the dark. Gotta look at what's in the stones. And I can't do that without my glasses. And the truth is, you are being divinely guided through all of this. And that is smack in the middle. And it's so big. You know, there is a lot of divine inspiration, a lot of divine guidance, a lot of that, but it's all underneath of this worry and false starts and refusing to see that, hey, I'm at a crossroads here and I really need to make this decision that I don't want to make, you know, because it might destabilize something or it might ruin something or something might come crashing down. Um, this is the lizard. And for the life of me, what I'm hearing is the lizard can't move because it's cold. They're cold-blooded animals. When there's no warmth, you know, then they don't move. And so by hiding ourselves in our shell and ignoring this, you know, ignoring these crossroads and listening to the worry, waiting just to see, you know, what we hit first that might solve this problem instead of really thinking about how to solve the problem, we're shutting ourselves down. We're stunting our own movement and our own growth. This is the conflict. This is the conflict stone. People need to go their separate ways here. There are things that you definitely need to separate from. And as I said in that last batch of fossils, you know, there is community, family, you know, connections, friendships that need to be let go out of your life because they're just no longer serving you with where you are going. And it's hard and it hurts and it's not easy. But you are better off going your own way and making things how you want them to be. Lastly, here we've got this guy that doesn't want you to look at what it actually is. Oh my God. Seriously. So this is about, you know, what is it that you're looking at? It's a crinoid. It's a crinoid anchor. That's all it is. Mineralized. But it's a nice eye. And it's like, what is it that you need to be looking at? And what you need to be looking at is this sort of half treasure that isn't really that great. And I mean, it's there and it's okay. But what you are meant to discover and find and move towards is this beautiful. And this is, I mean, it's a tetrahedron in itself, and that is fire element. So it's passion, it's creation, it's that spark of life again, where we had that dead sun where nothing was really growing. This is the treasure, that fiery, passionate spark that's going to get you that fulfillment that you're looking for. But you have to let yourself move. You have to let yourself let go of things that are no longer working. Trust yourself to catch yourself. Understanding your needs and acknowledging your inner child allows you to start building this trust. You need to go your own way, and you need to rekindle that passion within you that is always there, that has always been there, and it is not dependent on other people. It is not dependent on other people's attitudes, beliefs, behaviors, their agreement or their disagreement. So take note of that friction with people. I know a lot of us are going through that right now, where we're feeling this friction with people, certain people in our lives, people, places, situations, and things, because they're not working for us. And we keep coming up against this friction because it's time for us to move away from it. Understanding what nourishes you will allow you to fill your orbit with uplifting and supportive energy. Time for the energetic / spiritual feng shui. Get rid of the stuff that is causing and leading to the stagnancy, that is the conflict, that is the place where we're butting heads. Immediately in my mind, I'm seeing, you know, 5 of Wands. It's not going anywhere. And so society sometimes tells us we have to solve that conflict. And sometimes the way to solve that conflict is to just walk away from it, to not engage in it anymore, and to go towards what it is you truly want, what you know your heart wants. Whatever the present circumstances in your life are, they are not fulfilling to you. You perhaps had a point in time in your life where it felt exciting, it felt fulfilling. You know, it had a little bit of a spark, but that has passed. And now it's the time to think about what it is that you want your life to look like, feel like, even if you're not sure what it's going to look like. How do you want to feel living that life? What do you want to be able to share with others living that life? What is nourishing to you versus what makes you feel drained and empty and cold and not moving? Understanding what nourishes you will allow you to fill your orbit with uplifting and supportive energy. If you get stuck in relationship, partnership, situation where you want it to be nourishing, you want it to feed your soul, but it's draining you. You need to be realistic about that because, maybe it feels good sometimes, but if it's draining you, it's not pushing you towards growth, towards your highest and best. It's just dragging you down. This is difficult. This is scary. This is hard. And I understand that completely. I really do, because I've been going through a lot of it myself. Trust what your heart wants. You can't force old things, people, places, situations to become what they're not. But you can release that and make room for what you truly do desire. Your heart's desires to come in. Hang in there. Flow with it. Let it go. And take care of you. Love you. Bye.